Meditating the past 3 years. It's not something that I grew up doing in my family, but it's something that I learned during my healing journey. And at the time that I started meditating, I was trying to do like guided meditations on apps that are widely available, like Calm and Soothing Pod is one that I really liked. And it was just nice to have like a voice kind of guide you through with some really nice soothing music and like nature sounds and things like that. But I remember, because I have complex PTSD, there was a time that I tried to meditate. I actually sat down, I think it was like a 15-minute meditation on YouTube, and I just started having a panic attack. Like, I couldn't do it. I had this like tension in my belly. It was really uncomfortable. And now I recognize that as trauma, as like energy that has been stored and not released properly. But I'm really grateful to myself that I pushed through and I continue to, not push myself, but to encourage myself to continue the practice. Because I think meditation, it's often looked at in Western society as sort of this self-improvement tool, which it is, or like a health benefit kind of thing, but for me it's extended into realms that are way beyond that are spiritual and ancestral for me as well. So I went on my first meditation retreat earlier this year, about a week long. It was led by Bhikkhunis, which are nuns, and it was in the Theravada or forest monastery tradition of Buddhism. And it was during my spring break of grad school, so it was really nice to have that kind of reset, and it felt like kind of like a full body and spirit cleanse for me almost. I had a lot of emotions come up and very vivid dreams, and it was just really cool to be able to stay outside in a yurt, like in the woods, and do walking meditations, all the moss and the trees. So it was a very beautiful place. And yeah, I wasn't really sure if I was prepared for it, but I definitely felt that I was after the experience. And like most Buddhist retreats, it was held in noble silence, so there was no talking throughout. It was just people, doing their chores. So like everybody had like a responsibility to like cook or clean or do something that would be supportive. And so it was a really cool opportunity to be able to try that for the first time. And my second meditation retreat was also this year. It was during the summer in Colorado. And this one was a BIPOC wellness retreat. And this one was definitely a different kind of retreat for me because it was much more diverse, and it was very collective. Like, it felt that we were doing work together to bring more spiritual awareness into our communities, and also groundedness to spirituality. Because I think often spirituality in the West can be divorced from social justice and reparations, and really important work. So I think that for me, it was really important to have both experiences. There was also a grief and rage ritual, and some kinning practices, which are kind of like the conviviality that I mentioned in another video, but developing that kinship and resonance with other creatures and plants. Something that I've heard recently about meditation is sitting in presence is not doing nothing. It is channeling aliveness. And I really let that one sink in, because I kind of used to think, oh, I'm just meditating, I'm just sitting here, I'm not doing anything, I'm not being very productive. But I'm actually teaching my senses how to just be, instead of manipulating or changing the outcome. And not to say that there isn't like free will, but we can kind of align our will with universal energy, or chi that's like flowing through us, and that can help us actually achieve our outcomes more easily, I believe. And I've witnessed that as well. So some of the meditation practices I do are bodhicitta, which is meditating for the good of all beings. The four immeasurables, or the Brahma Viharas. You might have heard of these: Metta, Karuna, Mudita, and Upekkha. And Samatha and Anapanasati, which is like calm and mindfulness of your breathing. And I also do Vipassana, which is probably one of the most well-known forms of meditation. Insight meditation. So when you meditate, you become aware of all of your internal sensations, emotions, and thoughts. And then the last one is Dzogchen Rigpa, which is like, it's a Tibetan word, but I believe it's translating to like non-being or something similar to that, like being present with being and non-being, the non-duality of that. And these ones I learned from a video by Tina Rasmussen, so I can link that below as well. She links to some neuroscience research like I mentioned. But I also wanted to kind of delve into this like word or this topic of being a light worker. I've seen this word thrown around a lot in like New Age circles. I'm kind of undecided about it. I think there's pros and cons to it. But to me, being a light worker, this is my interpretation of it, is like shedding light on our shadows. Being able to witness and not run away from the darkness of ourselves and other people. So seeing that we are all one, and the darkness that exists within us or is channeled through us is just something that we have to face. It's really not personal, and something that I've realized while meditating is that something that is very common with meditators, I guess, is what I've been told by spiritual teachers, is that I witness a lot of light kind of in my, I guess, third eye area, or like just my awareness. When my eyes are closed, I see rainbows and prisms, and like it's like a combination of, it's an interplay between darkness and light. And after my Aya ceremony, I also saw a lot of sacred geometry. Just anything that I was thinking I could actually visualize, which is kind of weird at first, but also really cool. And yeah, so I think being a light worker to me is just being able to hold space for that light and that darkness simultaneously without judgment. Just wanted to show you guys these signs. It's pretty nice. It's for the sword fern. We have the Lachute seed. I'm in Puyallup today. Something else I wanted to mention about meditation is that it felt like a privilege to me for a long time. Like, it didn't feel accessible to me. I think one, because I never grew up learning it, but also because my parents were immigrants. I think maybe it felt unsafe for them to be still and to not be constantly working their asses off, because it was all about survival. And so actually I do believe in my life, I'm reclaiming that form of stillness and rest for my ancestors, including my parents, who weren't able to feel safe doing that. Because I think these practices should be taken into context of how they developed. And they developed in relation to the cultures in which they were birthed. So for example, I've been reading a lot about early Chinese mysticism and its relationship with Buddhism and how it was debated on. There's a lot of discourse and conversations around these two philosophies in ancient China. And it wasn't just something that was, taken as a commodity out of context. And so I think as somebody who was born in this modern era, trying to dig up this history and learn what it might have felt like for my ancient ancestors to have, practiced meditation and mindfulness is really interesting to me. And as I'm walking in the forest here, doing a kind of a walking meditation, I'm seeing how important it is to also meditate with the plants and the animals and the other creatures that are part of our ecosystem. And it's not all about us. Our meditation practice, our mindfulness practice is about being respectful human beings.